So let's take a look at the beginning of Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics, or just Aristotle's Ethics. That's what we usually refer to it. Um, I'm just going to start reading it, and maybe use that as a way of getting into what I take to be kind of the structure of it, or the subject of it, or what is it kind of question is Aristotle actually asking, and how is he pursuing the question? He starts like this: every art and every inquiry, and similarly every action and pursuit, is thought to aim at some good. And for this reason, the good has rightly been declared to be that at which all things aim. That's a extremely interesting way of beginning. Every art and every inquiry. So every art, every craft, like carpentry or painting or building or mechanics, and every inquiry, history, science, and every action and pursuit, that is, everything we do, is thought to aim at some good. So, what is he saying there? I mean, I think he's saying something that is both obvious and enlightening at the same time. Everything we do, absolutely everything we do for a reason. We have a purpose. We have an aim or a goal. Um, and he characterizes that as a good. And I think that that's right. He's not saying that everything that everybody ever did was good. Some things we do are bad. But we always aim at something we think good, something we think is worth pursuing through our action. If you get up off the sofa and you walk to the store to buy a quart of milk, then the good at which your action aims is that quart of milk. If you get up off the sofa and run a mile at a track, the good perhaps is physical health. If you spend the day painting a picture, then the good is the finished picture, let's say. So everything we do aims at something we think good. I think that that's is that obvious? I don't know, but it's interesting, especially when you think not everything in the universe is like that, and not everything that happens to us, is or that we do is actually purposive or directed towards a purpose in that way. If you have a thumb tremor and you know, your thumb twitches, that's not an action. I mean, it's something your body undergoes or does involuntarily, but the voluntary actions that we engage in are all aimed at some good. It's an interesting way of starting. But he continues, there's certain differences found among ends. Now, ends in terms of goals. What is your end here? What is your purpose here? What is your aim here? Some are activities, some are products apart from the activities that produce them. That is, I think he's pointing out sometimes the good of an activity is just the fun or the pleasure of doing it. Like skipping rope or watching a film. It's just the pleasure of doing it, the activity. Whereas some are activities, other are products apart from the activities that produce them. If you're in the activity of building a I don't know, building a birdhouse, I guess the point is the finished birdhouse. Whereas if you're skipping rope, the point is the fun of skipping rope, not some end product. Now, as there are many actions, arts, and sciences, their ends also are many. The end of the medical art is health, that of shipbuilding a vessel, that of strategy, victory, that of economics, wealth. But where such arts fall under a single capacity, as bridle making and the other arts concerned with the equipment of horses fall under the art of riding, and this and every military action under strategy. In the same way, other arts fall under yet others. And all of these, the ends of the master arts, are to be preferred to all the subordinate ends, for the sake of the former, for it is for the sake of the former that the latter are pursued. I mean, he's thinking of this, or, if you think about all of the arts involved in building a house, house building being the master art, all of the lesser arts are all directed towards that, like making a door frame or laying electricity lines or something like that. So he's already building this picture of, well, in terms of ends and pursuing ends, this is for the sake of that, and that is for the sake of that, and that is for the sake of that. So he starts section 2 this way. He says, if then there is some end of the things we do, which we desire for its own sake, everything else being desired for the sake of this, and if we do not choose everything for the sake of something else, for at that rate the process would go on to infinity, so that our desire would be empty and vain. Clearly, this must be the good and the chief good. Notice the idea is that in our ordinary everyday life, we pursue goods, or at least things that we believe to be good. But oftentimes we choose something for the sake of something else. We choose one good for the sake of getting another good, and we choose that good for the sake of getting another good, and so on and so on. But Aristotle is saying, well, I mean, there must be something that we desire for its own sake. There must be some chief good, something that is not just the good of this or that particular activity, but the good of life itself, and that we should, we would want to know about it. And what is that good? What is that? What is that good that everything sort of combines to try to achieve? And that leads us into what is essentially, I think, the subject of this book. So if you skip ahead to page 2, section 4, let us resume our inquiry and state, in view of the fact that all knowledge and every pursuit aims at some good, what is it that we say political science aims at, and what is the highest of all goods achievable by action? Verbally, there is very general agreement for both the general run of men and people of superior refinement say that it is happiness. And that, I think, in a certain respect, tells us what the subject of this book is. If there is a single subject of this book, it is happiness. But to see what he's done here, he's saying, everything that we do, all the goods that we pursue, could be said to be pursued for the sake of some other good, not for their own sake, but not happiness. Happiness is always something that we want for its own sake, and we might say that also everything that we pursue is for the sake of happiness. I mean, there are all sorts of good things in the world, good things to have. Let's say intelligence, but it would make sense. Well, I want intelligence because I want something else, or something less important like money. I want money not for its own sake, but for the sake of getting something else. But no one ever says that about happiness. Happiness is always something we want for its own sake. We would never say, I want to be happy because I want. No, I mean, everything is to be happy. Everything is for the sake of happiness. Happiness isn't for the sake of anything else. So, he's actually sort of identified what the overall purpose of a human life is. I mean, if everything we do is to pursue some good, that is, every individual action that we undertake is to pursue some good, there's also an overall to a human life. There is an overall thing that we pursue, and that, he says, we all agree, is happiness. But this raises an immediate question: what is happiness? What constitutes happiness? And that answering that question is, in a sense, what the whole book is really about.